I call to order this regular meeting of the Minnehaha County Planning Commission, and I will begin with a few introductory comments. As a courtesy to everyone here tonight, please make sure that all cell phones are turned off. Please note that tonight's Planning Commission meeting will be rebroadcast via CityLink and posted on the www.minnehahacounty.org site for viewing by the general public. Any final action taken on the conditional use permit applications tonight will take effect 5 working days following this meeting unless a written appeal of the Planning Commission's decision is filed in the Planning Office by Monday, November 4th at 5 p.m. In the event of an appeal, the decision will be referred to the County Commission for a hearing on Tuesday, November 19th at or after 9 a.m. The affected parties will be notified of meeting date. Meetings of the County Commission are also held in this same room. Action taken on the major amendment to a planned development during the public hearing tonight is a recommendation that will be forwarded to the County Commission for another public hearing on Tuesday, November 26th at or after 9 a.m. Meeting of the County Commission will be held in the same room. First on the agenda is public input. Is there anyone here tonight who wishes to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? At this time, the Planning Commission will consider the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are perceived to be non-controversial and meet all of the requirements of the codes and regulations. The consent agenda will be acted on in one motion with no public hearing on the items unless a member of the public, the Commission, or staff requests the item be removed from the consent agenda. The minutes from the September 23rd, 2019 meeting are included in the consent agenda. Does any Planning Commission member wish to have any item removed for discussion? Next, I will read each item on the consent agenda and ask if there are any issues or comments from the staff or the audience. If any member of the staff or audience would like to be heard on the item, please raise your hand and the item will be removed to the regular agenda to allow you to address the Commission later in the meeting. Any other remaining items on the consent agenda will be approved by the planning conditions with the conditions recommended by staff. Okay, the first item on the consent agenda is the approval of the minutes of September 23rd, 2019. Item number 2 is the plan development. Major amendment 19-05 to change the parcel designation from subarea C to subarea D to allow agricultural uses on the property legally described as Lot 18 and 18A, High Prairie Ranch Addition, Northwest Quarter, Section 8, Township 102 North, Range 49 West. The petitioner is Robert Binstock. He is also the property owner. Location is 47312 Rogness Place. It's located approximately 2.5 miles east of Crooks. Okay, we will remove that item to the regular agenda, item number 2. Item number 3 is conditional use permit 19-44 to transfer 2 building eligibilities from the southeast quarter, the southwest quarter, Section 26, Township 104 North, Range 48 West, and the northwest quarter, Section 35, Township 104 North, Range 48 West to the southwest quarter, the northwest quarter, Swenson's Tract 3, except Swenson's Tract 3A, northwest quarter, Section 35, Township 104 North, Range 48 West. The petitioner is Mark McGee. He's also the property owner. This is located approximately 7 miles east of Del Rapids and 4 miles south on 482nd Avenue. Item number 4, conditional use permit 19-45 to allow storage units and outdoor storage on the property legally described as the north 277 feet, the south 344 feet, the west half, the northwest quarter, and Tract 1, Odie's Second Edition, Section 32, Township 102 North, Range 48 West. Petitioner is Split Rock Square LLC. Owner is the same. Location 1600 West Holly Boulevard, located approximately 1.5 miles west of Brandon. Okay. So, item number 2 has been removed to the regular agenda. So, we need a motion for item number 1, item number 3, and item number 4.
I'll make a motion to approve item 1, 3, and 4.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. If your item has been approved, you are free to go. Item number 2, Kevin?
Kevin Hookman, County Planning Department again. Item number 2 is a major amendment to plan development. The applicant is proposing to change his parcel from sub-area C to sub-area D. That's not the right one. There's the picture. And this would be in the High Prairie Ranch Plan Development District. The location is about 2.5 miles east of Crooks at the end of Renberg Street. The entire plan development is approximately 111 acres. It does have a mix of uses, ranging from parkland to agricultural to residential uses. There's 4 sub-areas, and you can kind of see them on this map. And like I said, there's residential in the yellow area, horse stable in that the gray area. It was planned for parkland in the green and the rest of the sub area here on the east side of the river, and then agricultural uses to the north in sub area D. The original concept was to have the property owners in the subdivision collectively own the parkland and use it for riding their stable horses and stuff, and it didn't work out that way. The petitioner now owns the area that sub-area C is on, and staff was called to the property because the petitioner has been keeping cattle on the property and it's not allowed on this property is currently zoned. And there's a small corral located on the west side of the property, and we'll show you some pictures of that. And the east side of the Big Sioux River over here is being currently used as pasture land for cattle as well. Without approval of a major amendment, the petitioner will be required to stop raising cattle on the site, and that's the primary reason why the petitioner wants to rezone the property is to maintain cattle and other agricultural uses as needed. The major amendment, if approved, would allow this to become allow the same uses as agricultural land, but still be tied and aligned with the the plan development. Planning staff finds the major amendment will change the allowed use of the property to uses similarly allowed on parcels in the area, as most of the area around it is agricultural land. The amendment will allow a viable use of the property for personal or financial gain as agricultural property, whereas it currently zoned as for parkland does not allow that to happen. So staff does recommend approval of major amendment number 1905. And I'll go through a few photos. This is the photo of the corral that staff was called to investigate on the west side of the property. This is looking to the south from kind of where the corral is, the road that would be accessing the development, as well as the corral. And there's the subdivision road looking to the east, a little further down the subdivision as it is developed. Some of the mailboxes and signs. And then going across the river where most of the land is located, you'll see that it's been used for pasture land and the river runs through it as the road curves. This photo, in the middle of the photo, there's the well for the city of Sioux Falls, a well site. The area on the east side of the river is part of the watershed protection overlay, which would places special restrictions onto uses such as feedlots or gas stations that might contaminate water supplies. And this is looking further south down the road. So bring it back to the overall photo, and I'll ask, is there any questions?
Madam Chair,
Becky?
can you clarify for me where the corral was located at?
So currently the corral is located right here. Yep. And as I'm aware that, like I said, he uses this for pasture, and this is kind of a wooded waterway. There's a little kind of runoff water ditch that runs through there.
Any other questions for him? Thank you.
Yep.
Is the petitioner here? Will you please come forward, state your name and address?
Robert Binstock, 47312 Rognus Place, Runner, South Dakota.
Any questions for him?
I guess you have it in that SRAM program.
Yeah, actually, right where the corral is, they kept just that small portion out, and then that, what he calls the wooded and river area, it's actually a small pasture. I believe there's 9 acres there. That's in the SRAM program. And then most of the pasture is I worked with Brian Top for the last couple of years, and when we put it in, it was along the river, fence it this way. I said, let's just split it in half. Let's just make this really easy for everybody, and it's easy to fence, and so that's what we did there.
Oh, so you have fence going along the river then, to keep them out of the river then? Is
Well, yeah, it's fenced, so half of the pasture down below isn't utilized for any cattle from April until October. And then, I don't know, I can probably show you. I don't know if I'm any good at this. Where's the arrow? I don't even see it. My wife's a lot better at this than I am. I don't know. Anyway, we put the half of the pasture in, and so we split it right down the middle, so it is fenced off.
that- Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I lost it again. I'm not so sure. I don't do computers at all. All right, I'll go really slow. So we pretty much run the fence line from right about here straight over to that water line. So this whole portion right here along the bridge in the river, we kept in the SRM program. I basically hay it in about June or July, and then come October last year we run cows on there. This year it hasn't been possible. This year, well, that land flooded longer than I've ever seen it this year, and then we flooded again here like a month ago. So there hasn't been any cattle down there now.
Any other questions for him? Thank you. We may ask you to come back up. Could you come forward, state your name and address, please?
Good evening. My name is Valerie Callis, 47316 Rognus Place. I had a whole nice story printed out here, but the truth of the matter is the only objection that I have and the neighbors, I think in general, have is the section, the small wooded area that is directly to the north of the development itself. We originally bought our properties feeling like it was going to be an equestrian development. I've been out there for 20 years and love it, love it, love the neighbors, love the neighborhood. But the idea of having cows running in the area, the smaller pasture, which is to the east or to the west of the river, that's my major objection. I have no objection whatsoever at this point to having the properties to the east of the river be rezoned into agricultural or subsection D or whatever the appropriate terminology is. It's, you know, just like I said, it's simply the one section that's the closest to the housing development.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to address this item? Would you like to come forward again, sir? Do you understand what she's asking?
I do.
Okay.
And I pretty much figured it might come up.
Okay.
In 1993, when they developed this land, they developed it with the intention that they would put sub-area C in so they could ride their horse and have some ponies, and actually High Prairie 2 would be even farther to the north. And that was a good idea that never took off. And so actually in March 23rd of 1995, they revoked all the covenants and deed restrictions declared on them lots. And the amended restrictions are covered and are supersede those filed September 23rd, 1993 in Book 12, 315 to 327. So we ended up with, it always was used for cattle. After they developed this land, it was still used for cattle. But the map never changed from sub-area C to sub-area D. It went from sub-area D to C, but it never got changed back when they revoked them. You know, as far as the pen, I wasn't even going to put that whole parcel in the SRAM program, and I wouldn't have had to. But I did. As far as a small pen, you know, I'm looking at keeping some feeder steers there just to butcher, you know, 3 to 5, 6, 8 head of cattle. Some of the neighbors get some. You know, we do a few things with beef, and that's about it. I'm not looking to put hundreds of head of cows there or 50 head of cows there. I don't really want to go that route for two reasons. One, that bottomland flooded twice bad this year. It flooded worse than Grandpa and Grandma have ever seen it, and it was higher than they ever seen it. And so when it floods, I got nowhere to go with them but up there. That's it. There's nowhere else to go. And as far as, you know, they used to swim the river. Now they won't do that, obviously, because once October comes, they just decide they don't want anything to do with the river. But so for that reason, I really don't want to give up that for that opportunity. My goal was to put them down below eventually and have a few head down there when they're running the cows. But with the flooding, I don't know what to think anymore. You know, this last 2 years have been off the charts. So it's a few head. It's not a nuisance. I believe the number is actually 49 head. You wouldn't want to stuff 49 head in that pen if you tried. Any good cattleman wouldn't do that. But so I don't know that I want to do that because that pretty much puts me out of the business 100%.
Okay, any other questions for him?
Vicki Binstock, 47312 Rognus Place. So when we bought this place, it wasn't an equestrian development at that time. It was already annexed out of that. The barn belonged to Dwayne and Dorothy Rognus, and they owned the barn. We bought the house. It was not an equestrian development. So when people bought into that, it was not under the understanding that it was an equestrian development, that it was for horses. The barn was completely separate. Our house, all the houses were completely separate. We bought our house. There was a house being built to the west, and there was a house being built to the south. Otherwise, there was no development there. So the people that are stating that it was an equestrian development, it wasn't when they purchased. It was completely separate from that. Then we bought the barn and the land from Dorothy and Dwayne Rognus. And then that's when we had, because he was boarding horses for them, because basically they had this barn that was no use to them. They had a 14-stall horse barn, which was no use to them. So they sold it to us, and we boarded horses and then had cattle. So when people bought that property, it was not an equestrian development. It was High Prairie Ranch.
Any other questions for them? Thank you. Anyone else in the audience care to address this item? Guess I'll close the floor. Commissioners?
I guess to me, they're not gonna have a whole lot of livestock down there. I think the minimal head he has, I think it makes it a suitable use for this land down there, I guess, so. I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the Plan Development Major Amendment 19-05. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. No old business?
One item of old business. You all received a letter from the city of Hartford, and tomorrow night at 7 PM is their public hearing on their attempt to make that joint area outreach meeting, I guess is what they're calling it. I'm going to attend. I know Jeff Barth's going to attend. I just wanted to remind you that if you wanted to attend, it's at the American Legion, which is across the street from the City Hall, tomorrow night at 7 in Hartford.
I got one thing for old business. What about that Hope Harbor for the boys? I see they bought a place in Parker. Have you heard anything on that or not?
Well, they're opening it up, and,
Are they still gonna go through with it over there yet?
No.
Or they're not done?
no, but
Okay.
the zoning is still there, but it's only zoned for that, so
Okay, all right,
there's nothing else they really can do with that property.
okay.
Any new business, Scott? Okay. Need a motion to adjourn?
So move.
One second.
Favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.